And we're going to test the how to make a route, the TapFly mode, which allows you, basically, you have to be connected to the internet and you have to have Google Maps to make this work. Otherwise you can't do this, and it will only do it on your phone. So this is just showing the quick how this works. Seems like I had to start again at this point. I don't do this very often. Right. So now you just slide the switch and it initiates. Drone will then fly. It more or less doesn't fly any faster than about 5 meters per second is more or less approximate maximum. So 18 kilometers per hour, or about 12, I think, 12 miles per hour. So if you want to cancel this, the quickest way is to press return to home, and it will automatically cancel this. It will cancel even if you lose the signal on your phone, because if you do, which I'll show in a few minutes, where I put it on, I have a limited range where I could lose connection with my phone. At this point I just press the return home button. You'll see the H light up there, and it will then automatically fly back. It will fly backwards, sideways, doesn't matter. It will head back to home. So I've taken control of here, and I've put it about 20 meters, and now I'm going to do a long test here. I'll put it up to 26 meters. I think the maximum height of the trees around here are about 20 to 25 meters, so I think there are some that are 30, so you do have to watch for that you don't go over the tree line or something, because some of the trees are quite high. Alright, yes, also remember always set the return home altitude higher than any trees or anything that might get in the way. Otherwise it'll hit a tree and that will will certainly not return home then. So doing a long flight. In this flight I do lose connection with the phone, because my phone has a limited range of about 150 meters or so before I lose connection with the phone, and this seems to be and it loses over 150 meters. But now I'm just hovering around on this path and leave it running, and it will keep on going even if it loses connection with your phone until it follows, which will then hover until you hit the return to home function on your controller. seen how fast it can fly. I do give some rough figures in a few seconds, which I've put on here, just indicating the highest speed that it's ever gone is roughly recorded speed, something like 14.5 meters per second, but most of the time it doesn't even reach 12 meters a second, even high speed mode. So normally, I suppose, no winds, headwinds or anything, 12 meters a second is roughly the maximum speed in this case. But I do think here we got tailwind, so it's a bit difficult to say what the actual, I put 10 to 13 meters a second high speed mode, but I'm not in, those are just rough estimates of this maximum speed of the speeds. So I reckon it's got about a 2 meter a second headwind here probably, but I'm not entirely sure. Obviously you can look up the wind, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So I guess in some breakup here in the image, connections lost. So this is something that happens a lot. Even I think flying close to some trees there can sometimes, for some reason, it can cancel the signal between the controller. This doesn't always happen. I had mixed results. This field particular seemed to get more than some other locations, so I'm not sure if there's something in the field itself that interferes a bit. But it's not particularly great with the transmitter, between the transmitter, the drone, and the phone connection with the phone. So I'm flying it obviously in high speed mode. It doesn't indicate here what type of speed you're doing, but I know I'm switching it between high speed mode. Generally low speed, it won't exceed more than about 10 meters a second with a tailwind. So it's actually fair. I do have quite a bit of fun flying around in circles like an airplane here. Does almost hit 13 meters a second there. If you do it right, you can more or less go in a sort of circle, gently circle, rather than, you can control if you're gentle with the controls, you can sort of do small loops and round and kind of do your center of interest. There's an option for it to go around the center of thing. Unfortunately, I didn't do it on this review. I haven't got that. Didn't show that option, but it's there. Hit 13.7, nearly 14 meters a second. Yeah, I think the headwind is from the south. Yeah, it's because the speed at high speed mode is a lot lower, so yeah, at least I would say 2 or 3 meters a second headwind. So this is I do fly regularly from this because you kind of are limited to the location where you can fly the drone. This is a C1 rating, so you can fly up to 50 meters of uninvolved people and 150 meters of built up area. Fly to up to 150 meters, and obviously there's the 120 meter maximum altitude and things like that. So now we're going to do the wind test. I think here first I think we're going to show this is a UAV forecast for the location. I'm in a field at Goring by the Sea, South England. So yeah, the winds are not, it's saying not recommending fly there because you can set the speed, so I recommend don't set the speed higher than the low mode or lowest setting on your drone, or medium setting on the drone. In this case I'd say the low speed, which is 10 meters a second. So so I think I was presuming it's Friday when I was filming this. So this is Ventusky, quite a good app. So I'm using the MRC Pro, which is the main drone app for this one. It works quite well, and it allows you also indicates your meters per second as well, so you can see how fast it goes. So you can set the altitude up to 1,500 meters in this app. It gives different the KP setting. Let's turn that down a little. Really happened in this field where the drone will suddenly fly. I don't know if the wind was partially affected the drone here, but if it's not staying still it should hover, and if it's not hovering then and it's going sideways, then even when the GPS is on, you can switch that off and the drone will try to hover. If it's very windy the drone will drift away, so you do have to be ready to control its direction. So we're living life a bit dangerous at this mode. I think the winds are about 7-8 meters a second, at 6 meters a second at 10 meters, I think. And now I've risen to about 110 meters and I'm flying into the wind. I think I'm using a low speed mode, so it's actually flies fairly effectively, even though it's low speed mode. So yeah, just testing out the speed and how the drone's flying in these conditions. But it's flying quite well, to be honest. But yes, just to be mindful of winds, especially if it's windy, and also if there's strong winds, because sometimes the winds can be only 2 or 3 meters per second at ground level, and they can be up to 13-14 meters a second, which would be higher than the top speed of the drone. So it's something to be aware of. Obviously it does, you do have to take into account so I'm just doing a follow me here. The drone, I'm trying to get the drone to follow me, but it doesn't want to go. Come on, drone. Also the battery is running low here. There it goes. So basically I think it's follows the distance from the controller and just you can go. So I don't think it goes more than about 5 meters per second, but I don't know if it has if it will go higher, since it only went about 4 meters a second now. Amber warning first. When it goes to red, then it will automatically go by itself to the return to home. You can take control and move it, but it will try to land by head to home. There it goes. So concludes our review. Okay, now we're starting the orbit test. So this is a little bit a different couple of months from where I last filmed. So doing an orbit test. Orbits quite seems to work okay. Note you can't change the distance at which it orbits, so if you set it to 5 meters it will orbit at 5 meters from the object, 10 meters from the object, or 30 meters. So it's just you can't change it, you have to actually manually bring it down and then reset it, as it won't you can't change the distance. But it's easy enough to just to set it up to orbit it, or you can move it for a different position, then get your camera to change. So it's just a point of positioning the camera and then it will automatically orbit that location. I don't seem to be having any problem with it orbiting. So there's some parameters. Alright, just testing the low flying. You can change the camera position so you can see what's going on through your phone. It's following the path now, so you do have some control over the operation there. I think you might have to manually cancel the actual, or press return to home to actually cancel its flight. I think you only got the camera motion. Right, here it's lost contact at 146 meters distance, so it's quite annoying. You can't do, and now you can't see anything. I don't think there's any trees or things in the way, so, but if you're only 8 meters, it's something to remember to not have the altitude, or make sure that you got nothing in the way, because you can't see obviously what it's going to go into, and obviously you only got your line of sight, and it's quite low to the ground at so more than 150 meters you're not going to have trouble keeping it in visual sight. So this is not, I would say, a recommended use of it. I would say rise it to above so you can see it clearly at an altitude. Okay, start again. Got the signal back to the connection between my phone and my drone, so I just literally press return to home, and so that it'll come back, and then set the connection with the phone once it's in range. So there's quite a few mites on there. Oh, I lost connection had to switch started to drift off by itself, so I switched off the GPS. So not a thing that happens quite a bit with this drone. It's not a usual thing, but in this field it always seems to happen, or often seems to happen, that it drifted. Before getting a replacement drone, I had quite a lot of problems with trying to control the drone. It just seemed to drift off by itself. But yeah, it's not something. Having the GPS switch is quite useful for when you lose connection. So now we're rising. I'm going to put it up to an altitude of 100 meters, and now we're going to get it on its set the course again for the route we want to take. Set in the course and set in the coordinates. So the route's roughly here is 1,670 meters. As soon as the phone engages, it sort of connects to point number 1, and that will carry on until obviously I reach 160 meters here, and it will lose connection with the phone. There seems to be no difference in altitude, so it loses connection just as easy, more or less, with the drone and my phone. But obviously the controller remains the same. There's no problem, no loss of connection, so I can control the drone quite comfortably. It's just above 150 meters or 200 meters if it becomes difficult to know which direction the drone is going in visually, because it becomes just a dot on the horizon. So that's one of the downsides of going, is that you can't really see which direction the drone is going. It'll just appear to be a moving dot going from the only way you can know its direction is by watching if it's going side to side and taking a glance on the controller's distance. So if it's coming closer to you, know that you're moving towards you. Obviously if it's going away from you, know if it's going, but you can only gain the direction by its if it's coming towards you or far, by the movement in the distance. For the main route, you're going to follow a path around, this time in the field again with here, but it lost contact around here at about 160 meters away. So yeah, 159 meters. So it's not really a great range, 150 meters. And if you put it here, I'll lose contact, the signal, because this tree here, they interfere if you get too close to the things. I'm about 100 meters away from that.